Born in 1913 and initially raised in Montana, Malcolm S. Knowles had a reasonably happy childhood. His father was a veterinarian, and from around the age of 4, Knowles often accompanied him on his visits to farms and ranches. In his autobiography, The Making of an Adult Educator, Knowles recounts these experiences. While driving to and from these locations, we engaged in serious discussions about all sorts of subjects, such as the meaning of life, right and wrong, religion, politics, success, happiness, and everything a growing child is curious about. I distinctly remember feeling like a companion rather than an inferior. My father often asked what I thought about before he said what he thought, and gave me the feeling that he respected my mind. Malcolm Knowles has talked about his mother helping him through her example and care to be a more tender, loving, and caring person. His schooling also appears to have reinforced his positive self-concept, and he attributes his Boy Scouting experiences as significant influences in leadership development. Knowles gained a scholarship to Harvard and took courses in liberal arts and international law, intending to make a career in the Foreign Service. Here, his extracurricular activities were particularly significant to him. He became president of the Harvard Liberal Club, general secretary to the New England Model League of Nations, and also president of the Phillips Brooks House, which was Harvard's social service agency. At Harvard, Knowles met Hulda Fernell, who shared his values identically. After he graduated from Harvard in 1934, Knowles passed the Foreign Service exam, but there was a 3-year wait for entry. He married Hulda a year later and needed a job, so Knowles joined the National Youth Administration, a new organization that offered job training and placement. His responsibility involved finding out what skills local employers were looking for, establishing courses to teach those skills, and recruiting young people to take the courses. About 3 months into the work, he met Edward Lindman, a training supervisor within the National Youth Administration. Lindman, a scholar and author in adult education, took Malcolm under his wing and effectively became his mentor, setting Knowles on a lifelong course in adult education. In 1940, he took a position at the Boston YMCA as Director of Adult Education. He was drafted into the Navy in 1943. In his spare time, he began to read widely around the field of adult education and decided to undertake a master's program at the University of Chicago after his service. To support himself through the program, he got a job at the Central Chicago YMCA as Director of Adult Education. His advisor at the University of Chicago was Cyril O'Hull, who Knowles recounts taught only in seminars, no lecture courses, and he attributes Hull's deep commitment to scholarship and his role in modeling a rigorous scholarly approach to learning as the most important contribution in his development at the University of Chicago. Here, Knowles encountered the work of Carl Rogers. In his autobiography, he recalls, "I was so curious to find out what this man was all about. I never read so many books and worked so hard in any course I had ever taken. I had never before experienced taking so much responsibility for my own learning as I did in that seminar. It was exhilarating. I began to sense what it means to get turned on to learning. I began to think about what it means to be a facilitator of learning rather than a teacher." The core of his philosophy is that adult education must be free to respond to need wherever it is discovered. Professionally, Malcolm Knowles became an authority on adult education, contributing to humanist theories of self-actualization and student-centered learning with Carl Rogers and Abraham Maslow. Malcolm Knowles was the first to chart the development of the adult education movement in the United States, and his work is the bedrock of modern adult education. He authored numerous books on adult education and helped organize several associations for adult learning that are still active today. Knowles taught adult education at Boston University for 14 years, launching a new graduate program. He also taught at North Carolina State University, developing courses around his andragogical model of education. He retired in 1979 but continued consulting and running workshops for various agencies. He continued his study of adult learning, further contributing through articles and books until his death on Thanksgiving Day, 1997.